Hi, everybody. Shelley here. If you don't know me, I'm a spiritual guide. Welcome to my small but growing community of spiritual seekers. Today, I got a question from a longtime client. She has often felt plagued by a sense of unfairness in her relationships. She's had this experience throughout her life. Um, of feeling like she gives more than she receives in relationships and feeling really unhappy about that. And I'm going to expand upon this topic. So it's not just about her experience. Um, it's going to be about just a general sense of feeling that maybe life is out of balance or life is unfair or we're not really receiving what it is that we're giving out into the world, whether that's in personal relationship or a job, or even sometimes we may feel that spiritually from God. Like, why I'm a good person. Why have bad things happened to me? Or, I've put in my efforts and I'm like getting, I'm not getting my fair share. I think a lot of us at different times in our lives can be kind of plagued with this feeling. If not for ourselves, for people in the world, we can all think of really good, kind people that bad things have happened to. And there's a universal question of like, why is it like this? And then also in our personal lives, I'm certain we've all had experiences of feeling like we've given to relationships and we have not gotten back what we wanted or expected. It was not reciprocated. Sometimes we have even gotten back really bad things. Maybe we've been in a narcissistic relationship or some sort of abusive relationship or where we've been betrayed. So this is a really big topic, and I want to thank my client who brought this. I want to say before I dive in, your spiritual guides love to answer your questions. So I love when you guys ask me your spiritual questions or questions about your life, because as soon as they are asked, the guides will start talking to me and downloading things. I couldn't wait to get here today. It's a Monday. This question was asked last week, but I'm a mom, I am a wife, I have a busy life. So I couldn't get to it until now. I had a busy weekend. So I couldn't wait to get here because my guides are like, hey, somebody's got a question. And I'm like, you got to wait until Monday. Okay, let's dive right in. What do we do when life feels unfair? Let's start with just this general sense of unfairness and imbalance in the world and in our personal lives. Some of us were born into situations that feel unfair. Maybe we were born and we were, emotionally neglected or abused, or in some way as a child not treated fairly or lovingly. That can feel quite unfair because we can go, a child deserves to have, to be treated unkindly or be neglected in some way. The way that my spiritual guides have worked with me in bringing understanding to this concept and this personal feeling that I at times also have had in my life of unfairness is with the concept of karma. And I want to be very clear about karma. It is not about reward and punishment. Karma is our spiritual curriculum. Earth is a school. We are here to learn, to grow, to develop and evolve. And we cannot do that without challenges. Some of us get our challenges, yes, from a really young age. And I can do a whole other talk about what I think of reincarnation if you're so interested and why that might be. But some of us get our lessons very young, but guaranteed, no matter when they come, the hard times will come for all of us. And that's where it can feel unfair. Another thing my spiritual guides have told me is that nothing comes our way that does not belong to us in some way, for our learning, for our growth, for our evolution. If we look at the things that happen to us and to others in our lives as unfair, we can set up a very negative viewpoint of life in general in our minds. And honestly, from that point, there's really nowhere to go. It's a very depressing frame of mind to think, well, life is just unfair and it sucks and you can't count on it. And there's really no place to go from there. But when we view life as a space to learn and to grow, no matter how bad the circumstances are, we can find the light. We can grow and evolve. And the other thing is, nothing lasts. That's the impermanence of this life. So even if we find ourselves in kind of unfair, quote unquote, bad circumstances, we can trust that it's not going to last. So keep your eyes on the light, keep asking the questions about your growth. and know that this is all here for your learning. If you set your intention, no matter what your circumstances are, to continue to develop divine qualities within yourself, you will create a beautiful life, even in the midst of terrible circumstances. So think of right now something going on in your life that doesn't really feel imbalanced or fair. Maybe someone has betrayed you, or someone you love, or just like a disease has befallen a family member or yourself. And you can think like, this really sucks. This doesn't feel fair. It doesn't feel like we should be getting this. And then change your focus to, how can I be more loving in this circumstance? How can I develop more compassion in this circumstance? How can I better myself as a person in this circumstance? How can I grow closer to my spiritual guides and the divine in this circumstance? Do you see how 1,000 doors fly open when we approach hardship in this way? Whereas the other way is really energetically like a child who goes, "That's not fair," and and it's closed down, and you close down your own system. So apply that thought to all the challenges of your life, because that's really what the hardship is meant to be for, is to be for your learning, your evolution, and your growth. And living in that frame of mind is just life, just because mwah, even in the bad times, it's like, wow, good things are happening amidst the bad. Excuse me, I just belched. Okay, let's approach it from the second point of view, which is what happens when it's unfair in relationships. And we've all had this experience also, where we have not received what it is that we've given. And again, as I bring this to the spiritual guides and I ask this question, first of all, they want to talk about sticky giving. Now, that's a terminology I learned from one of my teachers, Barbara DeAngelo. She would call this sticky giving. We want to make our giving to others as pure as possible. We need to be willing to give of our time, our energy, our money, our advice, our however we give our generosity in a way where it truly is just a pure giving and there is no expectation of return. How do we do this? How do we become so angelic that we're just pouring out? Well, we really do it by being connected with our angels and our spiritual guides, because that kind of love just is an emanation. We learn, and it's a path and it's a practice to just pour out. And we can trust in the law of karma that we will receive that love back. But here's the hitch: we may not receive it from the very source from which we're giving it. So I'll give you an example of something that happened. I guess it was probably in the last few months or so. I kind of got my panties in a twist because I was going through a difficult time. And one of the people that normally supports me in my life did not show up to support me. And I was like, oh, like, doesn't she care? Doesn't she, And I got all kinds of blustery about that. And then it ended up getting itself worked out. But here's what God showed me. Was I loved and supported through that hard time? Yes, I really was. I was not supported by that person, but I was supported. And it was like the divine was saying to me, I will give you what you need, but not always in the way that you demand it be. And my friend was actually going through a difficult time of her own and was not really able to be there for me. And that more immature part of me that wanted what I wanted was actually being exactly the kind of bad friend that I thought that she was being. Do you see? But when I was able to say, I am being served and loved, and I don't have to demand it of certain people. I can demand it of the divine and, of like bring it to me. But I was able to release her from that expectation and bring forgiveness to the situation by realizing that I will get my needs met. I cannot demand where those needs are coming from, because not everybody is able to give in that way. And honestly, not everybody is in our lives to give us that. Most of the time, our giving and receiving is not exactly like, I'm going to give to you and you're going to give to me. And actually, when we think of it that way, that's not love. That is conditioned giving. And it's also this kind of like transactional love. This is something I've had to learn to overcome. Transactional love is something that, um, I don't know, I could repeating myself, but it's something that has been in my mind. Especially when it comes to receiving. If someone gives to me, it's been hard for me to learn to just not automatically go, oh, now I got to give to them. So, we want to learn in our personal relationships to give and to pour out our love without expectations of return. And it's a practice, it's a high calling. Where do we get the return? From our inner connection and our divine connection. If we have that relationship with our spiritual guides, God, life source, whatever we want to call it, the great Om in the sky, the great Om that lives within us, if we learn to do that, our ability to pour out our love to others becomes just enormous. And we are fulfilled through this connection. And then we also will receive from others in our lives, but we won't be so demanding about it. So, what do we do if we find ourselves in a situation where the imbalance, we just cannot take the imbalance? Because sometimes we are in relationships that just are not healthy for us, right? We aren't able to just completely pour out because the taking on the other end is too much, if that makes sense, right? Um, I've always said I have to leave if there are situations where I am just not grown enough in my maturity to maintain my light in certain relationships. That it's just I'm not to that capacity of giving where I can pour out this much without feeling depleted and feeling like this isn't fair, because truly some relationships are imbalanced. And in that case, if you look at it and you go, this is just too imbalanced. I'm always giving and they're always taking, and I am drained about this, then we do have to take steps to step back. Um, and maybe go partial. This is a big terminology these days, going partial contact, going no contact, just retreating a little bit into it. This is where we take full responsibility. We are retreating not against that person. We want to retreat into a space where I can maintain my light and goodness here. And I am comfortable to give without expectation of receiving from this distance. All of us have people in our lives that may be in the first or second row that need to be maybe in the fourth or fifth row, or maybe they need to get, put in the balcony. Likewise, we may, when we start adjusting our ability to know where our proper balance is with people, we may find that there are people in our lives who are kind of on the outer edges that are going to move a little bit closer, where we're going to be able to have more balance. The one thing I will just say, when we want to retreat from a relationship, if we feel that we are overgiving and it doesn't feel fair, um, we want to do our best to do it with a kind and loving heart. We can put down boundaries without bringing in harsh or angry energies. That's not to say we want to repress our feelings. If we're angry about how things have been, journal about it, take it to the divine, work it out on your meditation, but try not to live in that space of anger or holding anybody in hard feelings, because it will come back on you. That's just how it works. That's, you know, our output is a boomerang. That's the part that's true about karma. Is, again, it's not punishment, but what we put out, we will then experience. So we want to be able to say, like, I need to back away, blessings to you on your path. And again, if we have that inner fulfillment with the divine, it won't be so hard to be able to do that. If you're resentful, if you feel really like stuck in hard feelings, give it to your spiritual guidance. Just give it. Like, I can't be better right now. This is the best I've got. Help me. I'll give you a really quick example of this, and then I'm going to wrap it up because I really don't want these videos to be too long. This is not, it's kind of about the unfairness of life. So recently, my husband and I went to a concert down by the river. So the road down there is a little bit windy, and it's just two lanes, and the traffic is really backed up as all these people were going to this concert. So we're just kind of waiting in traffic. I was driving, and suddenly I heard from right behind us a loud screech of tires squealing and some what are they called? Uh, Horns beeping. I was like, honks beeping. That's not right. Horns, it was just like a cacophony. And I turned around and suddenly realized what had happened was there was somebody who didn't want to wait in the line, who had gone over into the other lane of traffic and was just going. And it was a windy road, so you couldn't see. So they were inches away from creating a head-on collision with this other car. And I talk about unfairness. Imagine the people who were just going along. We all know that, people, this happens in life. People are just going along and then some tragedy happens. So this person almost created a terrible, terrible tragedy because they were impatient and they wanted what they wanted. And I have a very hard time not feeling angry towards people like that. I think we all do. So the person went on. Thankfully, there was no accident. And then my husband said, we need to pray for those people. And he wasn't talking about the people who almost got hit. He was talking about the people who then, ironically, had pulled in right behind us. So I'm looking in my rearview mirror like, oh, you know, and he's like, we need to pray for them. And I didn't want to. I did not want to wish them good. I mean, I'm upset. I'm mad. I'm thinking that they're not deserving of that good energy, right? That's what my ego is telling me. But I was able to, in the moment, just like relax my shoulders and go, this is what I did. I was said, divine guidance, God, great ones, help me. I prayed for myself. Here is my anger. I don't like this. I don't want to pray for them, but I know it's better. And I was able to just give the whole thing over, including mostly my nasty feelings. I was able to give that open and it just kind of softened me. It didn't put me in this frame of mind where I was like, all blessings to the people, impatient people behind me, but I was able to just kind of move on with my inner connection and my good mood intact. And at least I didn't wish them harm or wasn't holding them in bad space, which is what the Dalai Lama has often said, which is if you cannot do good, at least do no harm. And our negative feelings towards people does harm. That's true. I'm on TikTok if you want to find me. I just did a TikTok about that today. It's Skyward Healing Arts on TikTok, about how our negative thoughts and negativity towards people, it's powerful, powerful, just like our positivity is. So if we feel that we have not received what we've given and we're holding the people that we profess to love in a hard negative space, we are doing harm to them and ultimately to ourselves. So take it, don't use it to beat yourself up. Take that whole ball of stuff and leave it on the feet of the divine, whatever your spiritual practice is, and ask that that you be relieved of that burden of that feeling, and know without a doubt that what you need is being brought to you. So you are free to pour out your love and your generosity because you are loved and you are held in light. It will show up for you, but not always in the way that you want it to. Okay. I want to ask the guides, is there anything else? I think we're good. Be kind to yourselves, be kind to each other. Find me on TikTok, find me here, find me on skywardhealingarts.com. I've got a beginner channeling class coming up in September and also a sot song with one of my colleagues on September. I can't remember the next one, but go to my website, skywardhealingarts.com. Under services are all my offerings, and I hope to see you guys soon. Take care.